Good morning. Welcome to First Parish in Needham. We are a Unitarian Universalist congregation of people from a variety of backgrounds and identities who help make our community vibrant and diverse. We strive to be welcoming and inclusive in all that we do, guided by our shared covenant and the values of Unitarian Universalism. My name is Mary Ann McGowan, and I am honored to be serving as your president. This past summer, I had the opportunity to attend the annual meeting of Unitarian Universalists known as General Assembly, or GA. 3 of us from First Parish served as virtual delegates to this year's GA, which was a particularly momentous one, as our denomination adopted a reimagined version of our core beliefs. This revised version, which was several years in the making, appears as Article 2 in the UUA bylaws. You will learn all about our newly articulated values during our service this morning, and you will have a chance to discuss them during social hour in Parish Hall, as well as online for those participating this morning on Zoom. You may already have seen a colorful visual design of the values displayed on the screen in our hallway, as well as framed posters around the church, such as the one that is here in front of the chancel. We hope that all of us will become as familiar with the values as we were with the 7 principles. There will actually be another opportunity to learn about the new Article 2 and discuss it on October 28th, which will be a virtual discussion on Zoom, and there'll be details in the bell notes about that. In addition to the UUA revising its Article 2, we at First Parish are in the process of revising Article 2 of our bylaws, which contains our purpose statement. You will actually learn more about that in coming services and in a blog and bell notes. So I won't go into the details right now. If you would like to learn more about First Parish, please visit our website, uuneedham.org, where you can sign up to receive our emailed weekly newsletter and learn all about the events and activities happening here. Wherever you came from and wherever you are connecting from, we are very glad you are here with us today. Welcome again to all.
As we light our chalice, symbol of our shared faith, and a colorful pride candle in honor of last Friday's International Pronoun Day and this Saturday's Intersex Awareness Day, we read responsively words from Euro-American UU minister Reverend Sherry Woodbury, inspired by our new denominational covenant of shared values. I'll read the plain type, and you'll respond with Dara to the italicized type. The words are in your orders of service and on screen. Again, we reground ourselves here in our highest values.
Love is the center and foundation of this faith.
Love is the power that holds us together as a community.
As we enter into worship, then, let us open our hearts to the healing power of liberating love.
Because love is not only something we receive, but something we practice in community,
let fall away all that might distract us from the wholehearted practice of love.
Let us be accountable to one another for doing the work of living our shared values through the spiritual discipline of love.
As we continue to listen and learn, to act and grow,
may each unfold in wholeness, both deeply loving and deeply loved. Our opening hymn, Love Will Guide Us, was written by modern singer-songwriter Sally Rogers as a more progressive version of the Baptist hymn, I Will Guide Thee. Please rise in body or in spirit and join in singing Love Will Guide Us. The lyrics are in your orders of service, on screen, and at number 131 in your gray hymnals.
Love will guide us, peace as strong.
For Unitarian Universalists, our shared covenant is a set of promises we pledge to uphold with one another and out in the world. Please say with me our parish covenant, as in your orders of service and on screen. We gather as a loving community to encourage and comfort one another. We gather as a diverse community to support each other in our search for spiritual truth. We gather as a service community to live our beliefs through action and care for our world.
Covenant is central to Unitarian Universalism. As we recall each Sunday, covenants are the promises we make to each other about how we will be together as a community and how we will strive to act as Unitarian Universalists out in the world. Especially during challenging, difficult times, maybe like when our community is feeling sad about the death of a beloved member, or we're feeling stressed about, say, an upcoming election. Especially during such times, covenants are like loving, active scaffolding, a protective presence that can help us when things feel a little shaky. But what makes a religious covenant different from a religious creed is that we expect that the language we use to describe ourselves and the promises we make to each other will need to change, that as time passes and we learn more and we deepen our practice of love and justice, we will need different words to describe ourselves and those promises. Yet the core of our promises, the core of who we are, stays the same even as we choose different words. To use some seminary terms, as a covenantal faith, we frequently separate the wheat from the chaff, check on what is transient and what is permanent. We queer our theology. In June, the General Assembly delegates of the Unitarian Universalist Association chose to update our description of ourselves and our promises to one another, changing the familiar 40-year-old covenant of the National Seven Principles to a new national covenant of shared values. And I'm wondering if anyone here would like to help me and help Dara down here next to this thing. If somebody could help by coming forward to demonstrate what a covenant is. What does it mean that the words can change? We have one young at heart. Does anyone else want to come up and help? Poor Jim. He came all the way here from Tennessee. He's all by himself. Thank you, Jim. Yeah, he gets a sticker too. Would anyone else like to come up and help with this tower? You get a covenant keeper name tag. Okay. Thank you, all of you young at heart folks. I appreciate it. Now, all these covenant keepers here are going to show, we hope, the difference between changing language and changing who we are. Have any of you played this block tower game before? What are you supposed to do? What? You pull a block out, then you put it on top. Don't touch it. Not yet. So, yes, you're supposed to remove blocks that may appear essential to the structure of the tower, but are in fact removable. So we can give that a try. Could each of you covenant keepers find a removable block and let me know when you've successfully removed it? No, don't put it on. Just keep it. Not yet. Okay. So let's see. I think we have 3 participants up here, and they've taken out 3 blocks from the tower of our covenant. What do you think may be the sort of things that we removed or changed from Unitarian Universalism or First Parish in, say, the last 300 years? What things have we removed or changed? Nothing. It's the same. Yes? Oh, I'm here. Women can be ministers. How delightful. We've moved a little bit of the patriarchy. How wonderful. Anyone else have ideas? What might be different from 300 years ago? What's that? Gender inclusion, and that could also include LGBTQ inclusion. That's true. We don't have as strict norms about that as we once did. Anyone else? We're a green sanctuary. So this is a very old meeting house, isn't it? But we know that the windows are new from our 2009 renovation so that they don't just let heat in and out. And what was the other thing we put in the walls? Does anyone remember? Insulation, of which there was none. But now we have it. Isn't that great? Oh, great. So it's a couple of our green improvements. And the building itself as well, the other key part of a renovation was to make it more physically accessible, which is why we have a lift, which is why we have a chairlift, which is why there are no longer stairs in the front of the building, things like that. Oh, okay. So these are some good ideas of things that we've removed. I would even say, oh, right, and we moved the meeting house. You all know that, right? This building. It was the winter of sometime. I'm going to just look up there. Oh, the winter of 1879. And they pushed it, pulled it with horses on logs. It was frozen. The ground was frozen. It got stuck one day. That's what I heard. But it's here now instead of next to the cemetery because the center of town moved. We decided our ancestors wanted to still be across from town hall, still in the center of town, so they just picked up the meeting. Very frugal. We're just going to move the meeting house. We're not going to build a new one. That would be ridiculous. So these are like how we change our language. They're not permanent to the practice of our faith. We're still the same community, yet these things are very different. So some of these things, let's get those 3 blocks back. Now we'll do what Jim, he was just jumping ahead, so eager. We also can represent additions to our faith. Could you all put those on the top, like you're supposed to do in Jenga? Thank you. Ooh, so for all of you out there, what are some things we've added to the language or the practice of our faith in, the last 300 years? What are things that we've added, aside from, like, women here? All right, you got that one. What's that? New words to hymns, new hymns entirely. I imagine that in 1711 they weren't singing from the Singing the Living tradition. Yes?
Incorporated holidays and celebrations from other religions such as Judaism.
Thank you. Yes. So we had started as a Puritan congregation, Standing Order Congregation of Massachusetts, but over the centuries we've incorporated and respected knowledge from all of the world religions. In fact, I believe it was Harvard Unitarians and Transcendentalists who were the first in the West, so to speak, to read the Bhagavad Gita when it was first translated in the 1800s. That could be wrong. Somebody can double check me on the end. Someone's going to Google it right now and be like, that's not right. But I think that's right. But we've incorporated holidays and sources and teachings from all around the world. Anything else? We don't have enslavement anymore, which we did have at the beginning. In fact, we moved so far from that that we now have our Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion Task Force to work on how to flip and dismantle that narrative we started with of racism into anti-racism. It's a huge change from 300 years ago. And so, now don't take any, we're going to do the next part, don't take any of these out. But you know that. You've played this before. I would like our covenant keepers to find blocks that cannot be removed without the tower toppling. So you can just point to them. You poke around and find one. No, that's a bad one. And then I need you to point to them. Where are they? So you do the little poke and I can't move. That's not moving. All right. Ah! Okay. Okay. So I'm curious for all of you, what might these parts be? These blocks that, at least at the present time, cannot be removed or the whole tower of our covenant collapses. What are some of the things that we retain from our historic faith? And that we will continue to retain going forward? Love. Oh my God, thank you, Laura. I didn't plant that, though that was Laura. We're a loving and caring community. We're centered on love. Thank you. The generosity towards the congregation, time, talent, and treasure, so that we can continue to exist. There's, oh, Bob, yeah.
The actual building and meeting in person.
Exactly. Coming back to the building, we still like gathering in person here as much as we can. And we have, as we discussed already, we picked up and moved this building. Because why would you get a new one?
The right and responsibility to seek your own truth and not have it dictated from the outside.
Yes. So even though that was much more complex during Puritan times, technically, you had your own individual spiritual journey, your own conversion path in their language. And that has been retained, this free and responsible search for truth and meaning, that there was, that you weren't supposed to put even a clergy person, don't fire me, don't put a clergy person in between you and spiritual truth. So these are all great ideas for the core parts of who we are. And we used to express those core parts in the covenant of the 7 principles, which are still so important and meaningful to so many of us today, but we now have a new way to express the shared covenant in our shared values of equity, generosity, transformation, justice, pluralism, and interdependence. These are all based in our central value of love. And as we see in our block tower now, even as we change language and the practice of our faith by removing and adding, our faith stays strong and stable through changing times. I want to especially thank our covenant keepers for participating today. All of you who offered suggestions, thank you. You're welcome to. You're done. I mean, don't knock it over. You can keep playing later, like after the service. It's just going to stay there. We'll see how many things we can take out. That could be a good challenge. And I wanted to say, all of you are actually welcome to take home a token to remind you of this. Oh, it's a teeny Jenga. It's colorful. I found it on the internet. Each of these little Jenga pieces, these block tower pieces, represent one of our new shared values. You'll see there are little stickers on there. Each of them have a heart because love is at the center. Also, there are only 6 colors. But each one has something that will connect you to our shared values. Our younger ones get to pick first on their way. But I really encourage you, I got these for all of you, so you can take one on your way out today, whether that's to get to your classes or after the postlude. And I hope that all of you at Social Hour will talk with Marianne or talk with Charles online about these shared values, which one is most meaningful to you right now, what questions you have. If you're online now in the chat box, you could put in an emoji, just like these stickers, to represent which one is really speaking to you now. Love, transformation, equity, interdependence, generosity, pluralism, and justice. And so as our children follow their teachers to their religious exploration opportunities and grab that wooden block to take with them, please join in singing Long Time Son, as in your orders of service and on screen.
May the long time sun shine upon you. All love surround you, and the pure light within you guide your way on. May the long time sun shine upon you. All love surround you, and the pure light within you guide your way on.
The right block. Okay. So, this is our time in the service where we share the joys and concerns that lie close to our hearts and our lives. If you are unable to be with us on Sunday mornings, but you have a joy or sorrow you'd like to share, I'm accepting pre-submitted candles at candles@uuneedham.org, and if you could get them to me the Friday before the service, I'll read them aloud. We have one pre-submitted candle from our staff, and it is a candle of gratitude that Laura Brown had her procedure last week, and it did go well, and she would still love calls and or visits. And now, if you are here in the sanctuary and you have a joy or sorrow to share, I invite you to come forward. And if you're joining us online, please do type your joy and sorrow into the chat to share with those watching the service with you in community.
Claire Galkowski, she, her. I have a concern. My daughter is and her husband are getting a divorce. Very, very sad. They have 2 little girls, but you know, they're working through it as well as they can. So I have hope that they'll land on their feet, but it will be tough. So.
My name's Lynn Jakowski, and I am lighting a candle for Fred Cressy's 94th birthday. He passed away at the beginning of the summer. Oh, and his memorial service is next Saturday at 2 o'clock here in the sanctuary.
My name is Jim Long. I'm a current resident of Sweetwater, Tennessee. I drove up here on Thursday all the way through, arrived at 1:30 in the morning, and Tom Gaiman was still up to greet me with his dog, so that was nice. I'm here for 3 purposes. One was to help with the coffee house last night, and I'm gonna be remote, helping him with the people that sign up to watch it virtually, and I'll be managing that from Sweetwater. So I'll still be seeing the shows, which I've always loved. That was one of the first grounding experiences I had coming here, was the getting together to do the music. And then other reasons to be here. Laura is out there in that garden, so I can visit her. Yesterday, I went to Wentworth University, where I graduated from in 1974. It was the 50th anniversary of my graduation, and they gave me an honorary bachelor's degree on top of the associate degree I had, but I've had enough life experience to earn that. And then I'm also happy to see that up on that board, Catherine Scudera, 2014, 10th year anniversary of her being here, and I've loved her and her family ever since I arrived. And there's so many of you that I've seen last night. Some of you were there, and I look forward to seeing more of you in the coffee hour. Thank you.
My name is Bernardo Almond. I'd like to share my appreciation for my wife, who's not here today. So it's just a miracle that I got to church with my 2 kids. And thank you, Meg. Like, she's a nurse, and she's working. She's helping a friend give birth. And I would also like to remember my dad and my mom, who are very old in Brazil. My dad has very, very advanced Alzheimer's and Parkinson's, but he's still going. And my mom is there, and she's really strong, and she'd love to be able to be in a community like this. So every time I have a chance to talk to her, which is twice a day, I talk about how the kids are learning here, and we have found a nice community with the same values that we have. Thank you.
I'm Mary Ann McGowan, as I told you earlier. I have a candle of concern. It's an ongoing concern for the people of Western North Carolina, two of whom are close relatives of mine. And in the aftermath of Hurricane Helene, things are still not anywhere near back to normal. And, you know, there's been no electricity, internet, water. The water is just coming back on, but it's not drinkable at this point. So people are still really struggling and trying to figure out their lives, because lots of people are leaving, and people who are staying have to kind of figure out ways to just go about everyday life. So anyway, keep them in your hearts. Thank you.
Hello, my name is May, pronouns she, her. I'm lighting a candle of gratitude. This time last year, when I had moved up to Massachusetts and first started attending the church, I did not have any friends, and as of a few months ago, my fortunes have reversed, and now I have maybe more friends than I have had out of college, just all of a sudden. With that has come some you know, some drama, but I'm happy for it, and I'm really grateful. Thank you.
And I'm Dara Bryans, ministerial intern, she, her, and I have a personal candle of sorrow. A friend of mine's husband is dying of cancer, and they expect that he will pass today or in the very near future. So I ask you to please hold Ronnie and his wife Kathy and daughter Sarah in your hearts and prayers. And for all of the joys and sorrows that are remaining silent on our hearts today, I will light a final candle. May the peace of this sanctuary be felt too wherever you are joining the service from, as we remember that even though we are worshiping in different times and in different places, we are all still deeply connected. I invite you to settle into your pew as we get ready for our prayer and meditation. Ground your feet. Feel the earth beneath the building. Let go of any worries you came into the sanctuary with, and breathe in and out. Our prayer this morning is adapted from genderqueer UU seminarian of color, Karishma Gottfried. Spirit of life and light, of all that is good and bad and in between, give us the courage to inspire and inspiration to love loudly, to share our joy and compassion with others, to let them know how much we appreciate them. We all give and receive love, but loving loudly is one of the greatest gifts of all, and it is so simple. All it requires is one person who is willing to say to anyone and everyone, "You are loved. You are worthy of love. You deserve to be loved." Spirit of light and of life, help us spread love throughout our communities. Help us teach others to live and love loudly so that it begins to circle round. So we can hear it too. You are loved. You are worthy of love. You deserve to be loved. Amen. Please remain seated and join in singing our meditative response, "There is a Love." The lyrics are in your orders of service and on the screen.
This congregation has been supported by the volunteered time and treasure of its members and friends since its founding in 1711. This is the time in our service when we, the modern stewards of the church, offer what we can to build and sustain the congregation and the world we envision. For the month of October, we're sharing our collection 50-50 with the Metro West Workers Center. The Metro West Workers Center, or CASA, is immigrant worker-led and organizes to defend and expand the labor, civil, and human rights of all workers in Greater Boston. They also run Canasta Solidaria, Solidarity, basket giving groceries and grocery gift cards to struggling immigrant families. And this summer, they began a partnership with the Need Shelter Network, a local group which includes First Parish members to support 2 newly arrived Haitian families in the wake of Governor Healy's policy change to only house migrant families for 5 days. To donate to today's offering, you can use one of 3 different methods as described in detail in your orders of service, using text to give, donating through the website, or dropping cash or a check into the collection plate or mailing a check to First Parish. Whichever way you donate, please remember to specify whether it's meant for the plate collection or for your annual pledge. And if this is one of your first visits to First Parish, we also encourage you to fill out a yellow card in your pew back to drop in the collection plate, or to fill out our online visitors form at uuneedham.updates.church. And many thanks this morning to Anna Birkenblit and Jerry Sheehan for our beautiful autumnal flowers. Thank you for everything you are able to give to help support and sustain this congregation and the vital work of our community partners. May the ushers now please come forward. Our responsive reading this morning comes from Euro-American UU minister and theologian, Reverend James Luther Adams. I'll again read the plain type and you'll respond with Dara, with the italicized type. The words are in your orders of service on screen and at number 591 in the backs of your gray hymnals. I call that church free which enters into covenant with the ultimate source of existence.
That sustaining and transforming power not made with human hands.
It binds together families and generations, protecting against the idolatry of any human claim to absolute truth or authority.
This covenant is the charter and responsibility and joy of worship in the face of death as well as life.
I call that church free which brings individuals into a caring, trusting fellowship.
That protects and nourishes their integrity and spiritual freedom, that yearns to belong to the Church universal.
It is open to insight and conscience from every source. It bursts through rigid tradition, giving rise to new and living language, to broader and new fellowship.
It is a pilgrim church, a servant church, on an adventure of the Spirit.
The goal is the prophethood and priesthood of all believers, the one for the liberty of prophesying, the other for the ministry of healing.
It aims to find unity in diversity under the promptings of the Spirit that bloweth where it listeth and maketh all things new.
Here ends our reading. When just a young boy, Hosea Ballou was both deeply faithful and deeply struggling with the theology his father preached at their Calvinist Baptist church in rural New Hampshire. Hosea's father, Marutin, hoped to instill in his children an appropriate fear of God, who chose a select preordained few to enter heaven, the theology their English ancestors had colonized what we now call New England to practice freely. Early on, Reverend Marutin had reason to worry about his 11th and youngest child, Hosea. Hosea Ballou's son and biographer, also named Marutin, recounted that Hosea described himself as remarkably inquisitive, even as a mere boy, about doctrines. I well remember to have surprised my honored father with such a question as the following: suppose I had the skill and power out of an inanimate substance to make it animate, and should make one, at the same time knowing that this creature of mine would suffer everlasting misery. Would my act of creating this creature be an act of goodness? The question troubled my father, and I let it pass without an answer. These frequent questions had the effect of causing my father much uneasiness of mind for the present and future welfare of his son. As a teenager at a revival service with his father, Hosea thought that it was his duty to respond to the altar call to accept and pledge to preach the Calvinist Baptist construction of Christian salvation, but he felt conflicted. Hosea recalled that he was much troubled in his mind because he thought he did not stand in such fear of the divine wrath as he ought. Hosea's personal faith was in relationship with a God who loved him no matter what, like an ideal parent would. Not long after, Hosea publicly declared his belief in the eternal salvation of all people and was promptly excommunicated from his familial faith. Ballou wept when he received his formal letter of excommunication. But he was unable to deny his faith that God was too good and too loving a divine parent to condemn anyone to an eternity in hell. To be converted to universalism was to be converted to universal love, to the ultimate worthiness of every person. Euro-American UU minister and former denominational president, Reverend Susan Frederick Gray, wrote, "Love is a core foundation of my religious understanding. Love as a religious practice extends our compassion, solidarity, and care beyond the personal to seeking the liberation and wholeness of every person. It reminds us of our fundamental interdependence with all of life. It is this understanding of love that formed one of the most precious gifts Unitarian Universalism has given me, the gift of a religion that teaches that the work of justice is inseparable from a faith rooted in love, that no one is outside the circle of love." Those of you who heard our member Rebecca Keller-Scholl's sermon this summer already know the recent history of the Unitarian Universalist Association's Article 2 bylaws, and that the June 2024 revision is the third expression of what, why, and how we are Unitarian Universalists. You would have heard her home congregation's covenant, first drafted by Euro-American Unitarian minister Reverend James Villa-Blake in 1894 while he was serving our congregation in Evanston, Illinois. Love is the spirit of this church and service its law. This is our great covenant to dwell together in peace, to seek the truth in love, and to help one another. You might remember her explaining that the first National Unitarian Universalist Covenant was adopted in 1961 at the consolidation of the Universalist Church of America and the American Unitarian Association, and that the second covenant statement, the now familiar Seven Principles, was adopted in 1985. You would have heard that at the 2009 General Assembly, a new covenant was narrowly rejected. I find it fascinating that the failed 2009 revision didn't change the language of the Seven Principles at all, but it did have a new introduction and inclusion and conclusion to them, stating that as Unitarian Universalists, we would embody together the transforming power of love, and that because we are capable of both good and evil, at times we are in need of forgiveness and reconciliation. We will begin again in love. In the 2020 charge to the National Article 2 Study Commission, our denomination's co-moderators asked the team to lead us into the second quarter of the 21st century while honoring the historic roots of our liberal progressive faith. We therefore charge this commission to root its work in love as a principal guide, attending particularly to the ways that we and our root traditions have understood and articulated love and how we have acted out of love. The Seven Principles had such longevity, retained with limited changes for twice as long as the original 1961 National Covenant, because the principles do describe our Unitarian Universalist values well. They've held and inspired and guided us for 40 years. But oddly, though the 1961 covenant included love, as in that love to God and love to man is a universal truth taught by the great prophets and teachers of humanity in every age and tradition, our 1985 Seven Principles didn't use the word love or any of its derivatives at all. To not name love as a driving force of our ethics is a gaping theological omission for the modern inheritors of the Universalist Church of America. And it is required in our national bylaws as a covenantal faith tradition that we review and vote on a revision of our shared belief statement about every 15 years, so that no articulation of our faith becomes a creed. As Reverend Dana Warshop preached, one of the key differences in Unitarian Universalism from many other traditions is our willingness to embrace change and evolution, both the scientific theory and the dynamic in human life. We are non-creedal, not organized around a set of beliefs written in stone. Rather, we are organized around covenants and values, learning and growing and changing. Just as James Luther Adams described in our reading, I call that church free that is open to insight and conscience from every source, that bursts through rigid tradition, giving rise to new and living language, to new and broader fellowship. And so, after 4 years of dialogue and drafting and representative democracy, a new Article 2 was voted into the National Denominations Bylaws this past June with its new statement of shared values. Love as the foundation, with other shared values springing forth from it, expressly in no particular order: interdependence, transformation, justice, equity, pluralism, generosity. Let's take a moment with this new articulation of our values, shall we? Breathing in and breathing out. Love, equity, transformation, interdependence, generosity, pluralism, justice. Our denominational president, queer Afro-Latin UU minister and professor, Reverend Dr. Sophia Betancourt, said after the June vote, "This is a historic moment for Unitarian Universalism. Thousands of UUs put in countless hours of hard work to discern, discuss, and debate the direction of our faith tradition. Everyone who wanted to be involved had the opportunity to provide input, to make their case. This demonstrates how functioning democratic processes can be used to create change that is just and equitable. This language of shared values is all the stronger and more reflective of who Unitarian Universalists are today because it was a shared process." And much of the beloved language from the principles has been retained within the definitions and promises of the new values. The equity value states that Unitarian Universalists declare every person is inherently worthy and has the right to flourish with dignity, love, and compassion. The interdependence value states we honor the interdependent web of all existence with reverence for the great web of life. The justice value states that we support the use of inclusive democratic processes to make decisions within our congregations, our association, and society at large. So not all is lost. I encourage you to read the full text yourselves by stopping at our Article 2 sharing circles at Social Hour or finding our values poster. Right now it's here. It's over there. But it's currently living at the bottom of the stairs at the Lincoln Street entrance, just next to the lift. We keep moving posters around though, so you might have to find it elsewhere later. There are at least 2 major changes in the new shared values. First, they not only include love, but they also put love at the center. The values begin with, we draw from our heritages of freedom, reason, hope, and courage, building on a foundation of love. Love is the power that holds us together and is at the center of our shared values. We are accountable to one another for doing the work of living our shared values through the spiritual discipline of love. Euro-American cis-lesbian UU theologian and educator Reverend Dr. Sherry Prudhomme wrote, "The great universalist heresy was that the nature of God is love. This love embedded in the fabric of the universe was strong, nurturing, and inclusive. It would not let go of anyone, ever. Grounded in this love, Universalists rejected any ideas of an afterlife that ultimately separated humankind into the saved and the damned. Instead, with salvation as a given, the locus of religiosity became this world rather than the next among these people. The Universalists focused on the process of living as one of coming into greater alignment with love as a response to the unshakable foundation of knowing that one was already completely held in love." Aligning with our newly articulated value of pluralism, Reverend Dr. Prudhomme also wrote, "Through the years, Unitarian Universalists have broadened and in some cases released notions of God or of the divine in religious life, but we have held fast to love. We affirm the power of love to heal what is broken, to hold us together across pluralities of diverse religious practices and beliefs, to hold us when things fall apart, to grow our capacities and to guide us as we return again and again in our families and communities to side with love. A second major change from the principles is that the shared values turn nouns into verbs, belief statements into actionable expectations, behaviors for which we are accountable within our covenant. So instead of simply affirming, for example, the individual free and responsible search for truth and meaning, the new pluralism value states we covenant to learn from one another in our free and responsible search for truth and meaning. We embrace our differences and commonalities with love, curiosity, and respect. And for generosity, we cultivate a spirit of gratitude and hope. We covenant to freely and compassionately share our faith presence and resources. And particularly for anyone who's on the team or interested in the work of the innovation team, here's an action from our transformation value. We Unitarian Universalists adapt to the changing world. We covenant to collectively transform and grow. We are never complete, never perfect. Let's hear those again. I know for some of you, I'm not going to make you raise your hands. I know for some of you, you're like, I didn't know this was happening. I know. This whole thing happened during the pandemic. We don't remember anything. So let's hear those again. Breathing in, breathing out. This is a lot. Hear those values: love, interdependence, generosity, pluralism, equity, justice, transformation. I trust in my fellow Unitarian Universalists and in our traditions, democratic process, and in the ineffable core of our faith that keeps the tower standing. I think we've got some good language to work with here, and I am relieved to know that if we don't, we can always just change it in 15 years. Some final words on love from Euro-American retired UU minister and religious educator, Reverend Jean Harrison Niwihar. Love is a decision, leading us toward responsibility and to commitment. We decide to love one another, not because the other is lovable, but because we are loving beings. We love because love is our essence, because we are called to make this love real in the world. When we love, truly love, we are filled with and are as close to the deep and sustaining mystery of life as we may ever be. We are as safe and as strong as we may ever be. When we love, we dwell in a sweet and holy place. I look forward to journeying with all of you in the challenge of practicing universal love. In a beloved community full of such love, we are sustained, we are safe and strong, we dwell in sweetness and holiness. May this be so. Blessed be and amen. Our closing hymn, As Tranquil Streams, was written by Euro-American Unitarian minister Reverend Marion Franklin Ham in 1933 to celebrate the growing closeness between the Universalist and Unitarian denominations, and it was sung at the consolidation ceremony in May 1961. Please join in singing As Tranquil Streams. The lyrics are in your orders of service on screen and at number 145 in your gray hymnals. May rise in body or in spirit.
That was a new hymn to me. I have never sung it before, but I kind of like it. So, as we approach the end of our service, I have, of course, some announcements. Laura, don't sit down yet. Laura will be our first to make an announcement. I warned you.
Hello, everyone. Hi, I'm Laura, she, they pronouns. I want to invite you all to a To the Four concert this afternoon at 4 o'clock. Aptly named To the Four, and then it starts at 4. It is with Lilith Vocal Ensemble, which I'm the artistic director for. We're a group of women and gender nonconforming singers. It's a treble group. And our mission statement is Lilith empowers women and gender nonconforming musicians by rebelling against societal expectations of traditional gender roles in music. And we have, all of our singers have jobs singing or directing at other churches, so that's why they aren't here this morning. But Chris and Caroline, playing viola and piano, are also in the concert this afternoon. So one of the pieces is a world premiere by a friend of mine that's called What Can I Say? And it's a really beautiful exploration of how religion can have an impact on you. Alyssa grew up evangelical and went through different stages of struggling with that and found beauty in it and struggles, and she wrote this beautiful 5-movement work that incorporates a lot of different songs and parts of songs. One of those being What a Friend We Have in Jesus, which they played as the prelude this morning, you hear within that piece. And the song also begins with a beautiful song called Sero about your long-lost love, and it's based on an Appalachian folk tune. And Caroline's going to play a different Appalachian folk tune as our postlude. So I hope that you'll be able to join us this afternoon. The concert will be about an hour long. And yeah, we had one last night and it went very well, so I hope you'll be able to join us.
And in other news, today is Soup Sunday fundraiser for our senior youth group, so please do go buy yourself some soup, sit down and have the lovely sharing circles about our UU values conversations that Marianne will be helping to facilitate and guide. The Needham Multicultural Festival is also today, and the To the Four concert, Article 2 conversation. You added to my list in different orders. Somebody did. Oh, I think it must be Emily. They're a little different from mine. Sorry. Little side conversation here, everybody. Caregiver support group is at 1. Hybrid lunch bunch with Reverend Katie and me will be this Wednesday at 12:30. Election anxiety to action is Wednesday evening. And Vespers are on Thursday evening, Creative Escapes Friday morning, and then the celebration of Fred Cressy's life will be on Saturday at 2 p.m. There is a talk about when God became white. It's an author talk on October 27th at Carter Memorial at 4 p.m. And also come here at 4 p.m. on the 27th instead and read a play together in community. We also need poems added for the lovely poem display out on our front lawn. Please slip them into the folder outside of Susanna's office. And there will be a Braver Angels event happening also next weekend. Check your bell notes for details about all of these. And now, as we do every week, we extinguish our chalice with the words promising to carry its flame in our hearts until we are together again, no matter how long it is until we are all together again. Please join me from home and here in the building in saying the words written by UU minister Reverend Elizabeth Sally Jones. We extinguish this flame, but not the light of truth, the warmth of community, nor the fire of commitment. These we carry in our hearts until we are together again.
As we close our worship today, take these words from lesbian Euro-American retired UU minister Reverend Barbara Pescan with you as a benediction. Because of those who came before, we are. In spite of their failings, we believe. Because of and in spite of the horizons of their vision, we too dream. Let us go remembering to praise, to live in the moment, to love mightily, and to bow to the mystery. Our service begins when our service ends. Blessed be, and amen.